Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sydney Dragway, and of course our fantastic bike night once again on a Friday night. What a fantastic way to finish the working week. And looks like we've got Brett Copping and Wally Hoster on the start line right now. Copping aboard the two-stroke down there in the airflow lane. 750 GT. In beside Wally Hoster in the BC Performance Suzuki GSXR. Both races very accomplished here at Sydney Dragway. Wally with the better reaction time. I think also the performance advantage here. 9:21 with a 6, 157 miles an hour through the top end to a 10:40 from the two-stroke at 127 miles an hour. Next up, we've got Shane Copping, also on a two-stroke. This one a H1. Only 500 cc's on board this one. The Rocket Lane with a better reaction time went 0.10. And through the finish line with a 10:53. 139 mile an hour. Shane in the airflow lane, 13:70. 94 mile an hour through the top end. And of course, 100 mile an hour, near enough to 160 kilometres per hour. So certainly quicker than what one can do on the on any motorway. Legally. Which of course is what I suggest, you stick to that limit. And X-Bear ready to take the green. The Rocket Lane with a better light. All about trying to get that front end down on the ground. And the Rocket Lane will take the win, runs through 10:65 with a 0, 145 mile an hour to an 11:29 with an 8 at 142. So I dare say the airflow lane could get the launch a little bit more down pat. Would probably see a lot better ET out of that machine. But of course, ride the bike to where you feel comfortable. If you haven't been to Sydney Dragway before as a competitor, take a run to familiarise yourself with the layout. Don't be scared to try a few things. 11.04 in the aeroflow lane there. It's a good mix of all sorts of bikes in the staging lanes. Some really nice Harleys as well, I saw. Our next pair away from the start line, pretty even on the reaction times. 4:17 in the aeroflow lane to a 4:49 in the rocket. The aeroflow lane will take the win with this one. 11.55 with a 9, 119 miles an hour through the top end to a 13.14. Just under 100 miles per hour. The next pair, leaving the start line now. A road trail bike taking off in the rocket lane. Holding its own at the moment against the road bike, but the road bike will take the win at the top end. I think the road trail just running out of legs at the top end of the racetrack. 13.48 with a 2 at 1:04 for the aeroflow lane to a 14.01 in the rocket lane for the road trail. The next pair coming into stage, of course, those top white lights are the pre-stage is the first pair. The second pair down is full stage. That tells the starter that they're ready to go. And then from there, the tree is activated. The lights count down. 0.4 of a second intervals between each of the amber lights to the green. If you get a 000 light, that means you leave exactly when the green light comes on. The rocket lane will take this one, 12.21 with a 9, 122 miles an hour. To a 12.70 at 1:02. And then the quarter mile here at Sydney Dragway is timed a number of increments down the racetrack. The riders at the 3:30 mark now, down the 5:94, the 6:60s half track. Then we've got 1,000 foot. The 12.94 is the first mile an hour trap, and then the 13.20 feet is the finish line. Of course, 1,320 feet, 402 metres. 14.78 there in the aeroflow lane. The 60-foot time is the one that you'll often hear us commentators talking about. It's the first box just past the end of the concrete in front of the Christmas tree. Bike in the aeroflow lane got there in 1.9 seconds, and we'll get to the finish line at 13.48 with a 7, just under 94 mile an hour at the top end, and an 18.0 in the rocket. But I think there is definitely some improvement to be had in the rocket lane. Next pair of competitors rolling up to the start line now. Tree counts down. The aeroflow lane with the better leave. And out in front from start to finish, 11.85 with an 8, 122. To a 13.24 with a 6 at 104 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Nice little burnout from the rider in the airflow lane down there. Leaves with a 488 light. Out in front and runs through for an 1171 at 114 miles an hour to a 1404 at 96. And 1 minute Bike Night supported by Sydney Random Riders and Heavy Duty Magazine. And the Rocket Lane out in front, 10.94 with a 6, 123 miles an hour to an 11.44 at 129. Fantastic to also have Harley Davidson on board, supporting tonight's activities here at Sydney Dragway. Of course, if you haven't been to Sydney Dragway before and competed, don't be scared to ask any of our officials in the blue polo shirts. We're all fairly knowledgeable about how things operate. More than happy to give you guidance into the stage, into the staging beams, or maybe the odd technique. But don't be scared to also talk to your fellow competitors down there in the staging lanes. 11.98 with a 6, 125 mile an hour will take the win. Of course, we will have a competition a little bit later on tonight. I think with the quick 16 Harleys, I believe. This pair looking pretty evenly matched. The rider in the aeroflow lane hugging that centre line, and gets there by, the Rocket Lane gets there by 3/10, 14.76 with a 5.87 mile an hour to a 15.30. Harley away nicely in the Rocket Lane, went 0.67 on the tree. Japanese bike in the aeroflow lane, I think, is going to come around at the top end, 11.10 with a 2, 142 mile an hour to a 12.13 with a 2, 108. In the Rocket Lane for the Harley. A pair of very nice Harley Davidsons rolling up to the start line now. Fairly even off the start line between these two. The aeroflow lane, the better reaction time. The Rocket Lane with the performance. Going to get there first with a 12.97, 101 miles an hour to a 13.68 at 100 mile an hour. So fairly evenly matched speed-wise. Tells me the bikes are making a similar amount of horsepower. Usually the mile an hour is a good indication. How much horsepower the car or bike is making. The rider in the aeroflow lane very loose off the start line there. I heard the blipping of the throttle. left a pretty prominent mark on the start line there. Had lined up way over towards the right-hand side of the lane. Results in a 13.24 with a 9 at 105. But the Rocket Lane, a 10.59 with a 4 at 141. Great to see all the supporters here at Sydney Dragway in the stands. Supporting friends, family, or even just coming out and having a look. So I'd like to welcome all of our viewers on the Sydney Dragway YouTube channel, Sydney Dragway Official. Also our Facebook page. Welcome to all of those viewers that are chiming in from wherever you are around the world. Of course, we've got most of our regulars in the chat from what I can see. Of course, if you do have one of your friends racing here tonight and you're sitting up in the stands and you want to re-watch it, you can always go onto either of those platforms and watch via the link. If you want to come out here on your motorcycle on a bike night, or even our Wednesday night race for reals, by all means, if you're riding a motorcycle on the road, you've already got all of the safety equipment required. Just a matter of jumping online and clicking that enter here button. The rider in the Rocket Lane, John Puckeridge, on his way to a solo win, 14.53 with a 4.93 miles an hour. Leaving the start line, the Aeroflow Lane getting away nicely, 1.82 to the 60. And runs on through for an 11.46 with an 115 miles an hour. Very quick machine to a 14.55 at 89 mile an hour. Our next pair are about to cross the finish line. 15.05, a 95 mile an hour will take it in the Aeroflow Lane there. And a 16.0 at 83 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane. Sounding like that bike in the Aeroflow Lane has a turbocharger on it from what I can hear through the track mic. 11.39 with an 8 at 105 mile an hour to a 12.1 at 108. Just looking out into our staging lanes, it's a very good mix of colours and types of machinery. got road bikes, road trail bikes, the Harleys. .365 light on the tree for the Rocket Lane. Just out in front at 1,000. 12.29 with a 2. The margin just over 1/10 of a second. 12.02 for the rider in the airflow lane. Of course, if it gets to the time when you're feeling a little bit peckish, we should have a number of our food vendors up on the top of the hill, or you've also got the cafeteria down at the bottom of the stairs on the western mound. To the right of the, if you get to the bottom of the stairs, turn right, and you'll see the scrutineering shed. But just beyond that, closer to the entry gate, is a pergola, and that in there is the track's cafeteria. Another reasonably close race here. The Rocket Lane out in front at 1,000 foot. And keeps the win only 0.03 of a second across the finish line there, so quite a tight margin. 11.64 the winning time. Again, fairly even off the start line for these two. The Rocket Lane looks to be out in front at the moment. And certainly takes the win. 13.72 with a 1, 95 mile an hour to a 14.28 with a 9 at 92. So fairly evenly matched on the run down there too. Going on a solo, runs on through for a 12.18, 112 mile an hour. It's roughly around 175 kilometres an hour. Another bike on a solo in the aeroflow lane. Is deadly quiet. I can't hear it through the track mics. We'll have to find out if it's electric. I think that's Matt Duff down there in the aeroflow lane. Yes, it is. On his Harley Davidson. Over 2.1 litres on board for Matty Duff. Rider in the Rocket Lane lifting the front wheels. One of the bikes that I walked past in the staging lanes. Really, really nice machine. Gets there by 1/10 of a second. 11.01 with a 6, 120 mile an hour. To an 11.47 with an 8 for Duff in the aeroflow lane there. Next up we have a Harley Livewire, which of course is the electric variant Harley Davidson. This one has been to Sydney Dragway a number of times before. Wonder if he'll hang on to the finish line. Nearly got there. 500's the margin. The traditional motorcycle in the airflow lane got past. A 12.14 with a 2 for the live wire. Up another pair of Harleys making their way down the quarter mile here at Sydney Dragway. The touring machine takes it 11.77 with a 3, 109 mile an hour to a 14.0 at 96. Big burnouts from both competitors rolling up to the start line. Just red on the aeroflow lane side. 0.13 red, 13 thousandths of a second too soon. Runs on through for an 11.26 with a 4, 116 miles an hour there to a 13.40 in the rocket lane. They're ready to go into full stage. As I said, bought those top 4 white lights on. Machine in the aeroflow lane, a lot slimmer in the back tyre than the one in the right. The rocket lane, of course, the western side or the grandstand side of the venue. The aeroflow lane taking the long way, went over to the towards the wall and has come back to the right-hand side of the lane. 12.72 with an 111 mile an hour to a 13.07 at 102. The machine in the aeroflow lane there probably covered about 410 metres, if not more. And the aeroflow lane will take the win here. 12.84 with a 6, 102 mile an hour to a 14.09 with a 1. Rocket lane away nicely, 176 on the tree. The reaction time not adding or subtracting away from the bike's elapsed time, the time it takes to get from the start line to the finish line. 12.13 with a 9, 107 miles an hour to a 13.61 in the aeroflow lane. Next up, we've got a Pete Plater in the aeroflow lane. Obviously the bike in the aeroflow lane, Pete Plater legal. That's certainly down fractionally on horsepower, but that doesn't mean that you can't have fun. Of course, any of the riders here tonight able to race in our Speed Addict Clothing Co. Championship Series, where you can run with dial-ins, breakouts, and also run for championship points as part of the Speed Addict Clothing Co. Championship. Run over 8 rounds. Street bike would be the potential category that most of our racers here would run in. And of course, there's also extreme bike and modified bike as well. All right, on track, probably one of the quickest bikes on the premises. A lot of wheel spin away from the start line. It's Matthew Hunt running his way down the aeroflow lane. 10:44 with a 141 miles an hour through the top end. That's 220 odd kilometers an hour. Did have a fair bit of wheel spin away from the start line. Just under 2 seconds to the 60. That bike should be leaving a lot harder than that. But I believe a new combination for Matt. Bear away nicely. 183 on the tree for the aeroflow lane racer. Out in front and will take the win. 9:52 with a 3, 152 miles an hour. One of the fastest bikes I've seen here tonight. So a 10:40 with a 4. Up on the 2-step, tree counts down, right away in the aeroplane lane very nicely, 052 on the tree. Rider in the rocket lane looks to have given up the chase, 10:29 with a 2, 142 miles an hour. Up, we're going to see Wally Hoster on the BC Performance Suzuki in the aeroflow lane, taking on Cheryl Beddoes in the Joe Curry Motorcycle Transport Harley Davidson Destroyer. The Harley in the rocket lane. This one's been modified, but you could buy these direct from Harley Davidson themselves. Fantastic initiative from Harley Davidson. And a 910 with a 158 mile an hour for Hoster. Left with an 082 line. 924 with a 2 at 136 for Beddoes in the rocket lane there. Next up we see a slightly different twist on the motorcycle here with an extended swing arm. Suzuki Hayabusa for GSF Engineering. Is Ryan Franks. Usually runs in Extreme Bike in our championship series. You can see Ryan getting his weight way down over the fuel tank on the 2-step, leaving nicely. Sure, this bike went high 190 miles an hour last time I saw it. And a 902 with a 147 mile an hour. Next pair face the green. The airflow lane around 2/10. Quicker off the start line. And a 10.88 with a 142 mile an hour across the finish line to an 11.34 with a 9. 130 mile an hour in the rocket. .974 with a 0 takes the win there. 147 mile an hour to a 10.50. 143 across the finish line in the rocket lane. .010 on the tree for the rider in the airflow lane. One of the quickest lights I've seen tonight. And we'll run on through for a 10.32, 130 mile an hour. To an 11.78 with an 8 at 122. Rocket lane out in front with this one. 11.19 with the 5, 126 miles an hour to a 14.1 at 92 mile an hour in the airflow lane. The rider in the rocket lane left early, but only 34 thousandths of a second. And 11.20 with a 5, 125 mile an hour in the airflow lane to take the win. If you like your two strokes, this next pair is definitely going to be for you. Brad Copping in the Suzuki, or on the Suzuki GT 750 two-stroke in the airflow lane. Shane Copping in the rocket lane on the H1 500. Shane with the better light, but Brett has a fair bit more horsepower under the right hand, as you would say. 10.33 with an 8, 128 mile an hour for the airflow lane to a 13.74 for the rocket lane. Rocket Lane out in front here, 10.58 with a 7, 138 mile an hour to a 10.96 with a 2. Around about half a second the gap across the finish line there. Our next pair going into full stage. Unfortunately, the rider in the Rocket Lane there left before the tree was activated. So won't get a time at all. We need to, you can leave early, but it needs to be once the tree is activated. Unfortunately, looked like the rider in the Rocket Lane basically just came into stage and then accelerated away from the start line. Not to worry, there's plenty of opportunity for all of our riders here tonight to get plenty of laps in. And 11:30, 139 mile an hour in the airflow lane. So good speed. Of course, some of these bikes are not super quick to the 60 foot because obviously if you don't slide the clutch and get the weight distribution right, the front wheel will go skyward. It's the advantage of having the wheelie bar out the back like we saw on Cheryl Beddoes' Destroyer. She can leave the start line with a lot more aggression. That said, you still need to be confident to come up on the wheelie bar. Too much in the reaction time, but I think the performance advantage is going to go to the aeroflow lane here. 10.04 with a 7, 145 miles an hour to an 11.02 at 136. So the rider in the Rocket Lane there, keeping the margin. It was just the gap to the 60 foot was nearly the told most of the story there. Of course, the 60 foot is the first block you see in the middle of the racetrack just before you get to the end of the blue paint. 60 feet from the start line, around about 18 metres. And a 12.16 with a 2 will take the win in the Rocket Lane. $13.21 with a 5 at 99 mile an hour in the Aeroflow. .080 light on the tree for the Aeroflow lane in this pass. Nice clean run too, straight down the centre of the lane. 10.22 with a 0, 144 mile an hour to a 12.2 with a 0 at 114. Reaction time's almost identical on this run. Aeroflow lane out in front though. 10.69 with a 5. 139 mile an hour to a 13.90. 91 mile an hour across the finish line for the Rocket Lane. Airflow lane stretching the legs at the top end. 13.67 with a 5, 105 mile an hour to a 14.54 at 89 mile an hour for the Rocket Lane in that pass. Again, almost identical in the reaction times, but the Airflow with the performance. 11.75 with a 5, 124 mile an hour across the finish line. Rocket Lane with a better light here, tucking as well behind the fairing as possible. 11.64 with a 0, 115 mile an hour to a 12.54 with a 5 and 104. I think one of those riders having a bit of trouble shifting. It sounded like they were just hitting the limiter. Sounding like there was a little bit of limiter action halfway through that run. The Rocket Lane will take it with a 14.63, 81 mile an hour. To a 14.78 with an 8. Rocket Lane running away with that one. 11.39 with a 7, 128 miles an hour to a 14.10 with a 5 at 103. Big RPM from the bike in the Rocket Lane. 11.50, 127 miles an hour. The Airflow slightly better light on this run. Going to keep the margin out in front, I dare say. 13.33 with an 8 to a 13.68 with a 1. Not too much in it, around 4 tenths across the finish line. Rider in the airflow lane, right up against the white paint here. The rider in the rocket lane nearly saw the whole side of the bike on the hit of the throttle. Lightning fast reactions. The rocket lane will take the win, 12.26 with a 7, 112 mile an hour through the finish line to a 13.09, 109 mile an hour in the airflow lane. .27, 92 mile an hour for our rider in the airflow lane to 15.53 at 70 mile an hour in the rocket. Rocket lane on a mission, 10.81 with a 0, 134 miles an hour. Fractionally slower getting away from the start line, but once the wheels were in motion, fairly even this one. I think the airflow lane out in front, 13.96 with a 1, 91 with a 6, I beg your pardon, 95 mile an hour. Takes the win. Airflow lane on a mission as well. 10.82 with a 6, 141 miles an hour. Nice clean pass. Good margin across the finish line. And 11.79 with the 0 takes the win, 118 miles an hour through the top end. The airflow lane with the start line advantage. 11.49 with a 1, 123 mile an hour to a 14.33, 97 mile an hour in the rocket lane. 14.24, 92 mile an hour in the airflow lane to take that one to a 16.41. 83 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Oh, big wheels up action for the rider in the rocket lane. The airflow lane will take the win though, 10.55 with a 9. To an 11.34 with a 7, 117 mile an hour in the rocket. Just popping the wheel up in the airflow lane there. .12.08 with the 7, 118 mile an hour. .024 on the treat for the Harley rider in the rocket. Knew it was a good light because it looked red when they left the start line. 11.69 with a 1, 114 mile an hour to an 11.62. 0.3 of a second across the finish line. Next pair about to get the green light. Rocket lane away first, but the airflow lane has passed and run away with it. 11.59 with a 1, 123 miles an hour to a 13.58 with a 1 at 96 mile an hour. Of course, there are no handicaps here tonight in terms of a staggered Christmas tree. So Dial Your Own Racing, where they have a self-nominated handicap. The theory is that slower rider will pick a slower time and therefore will leave the start line first, and in theory be neck and neck across the finish line. Lots of RPM on the start line for one of those bikes. Not an easy launch for the aeroflow lane. And and a 13.33 will take the win, 112 mile an hour over a 13.16 at 113. So they would have been fairly close speed-wise. But as I said, the airflow lane not getting the clean launch that the rider probably wanted. However, we will be going to a Pro Tree at 9 o'clock here tonight, which means all of the 6 amber lights, rather than counting down, they'll go in one flash. The airflow lane taking that win with a 12.97, 104 mile an hour. Margin of victory, 14/10,000ths of a second across the finish line. That's not very much at all. It's probably about the maybe the depth of the tyre. Right on the start line, we've got 2 Harley-Davidsons. The machine in the airflow lane, the traditional piston-powered machine. In the rocket, we've got the live wire, which of course, Harley's electric motorcycle. Rider in the airflow lane, very lucky to bring that front end down without mishap. That was very high in the air. Runs through for an 11.12. And 11.74 for the live wire. Again, the airflow lane lifting the front wheel on the launch. Not quite as high as the previous pass, obviously, but I think that will take some beating. Not that I'm encouraging that. 11.37 with a 6. 120 mile an hour to a 12.45 in the rocket lane. An 045 light in the rocket lane. Very quick machine, runs on through for an 11.31. 116. This one looked pretty evenly matched to half track with the rocket lane, just pulling away at 12.07. 110 miles an hour. Our next pair sitting in the beams. The rider in the airflow lane there, very lucky not to drop the machine and end up in the wall. That was incredibly lucky. You can see the black mark he left on the paint there as he accelerated away. But he was one of the first riders to line up on that side of the racetrack. Betting his heart skipped a few beats too, just quietly. Something else might have skipped a beat too, but I'm not going to go into that. .11.44 takes the win, 114 miles an hour. Wheel spin for the rider in the rocket lane. Draws up alongside the other machine at half track and drives away. 13.54 104 mile an hour would take the win to a 14.62. That was very close across the finish line. 13.24 will take the win over 13.58. Our next pair ready to go. Rider in the airflow lane. Keep the weight down as much as possible. Machine definitely motoring at the top end of the racetrack. Wow, 10.76 at 140 mile an hour. Big wheel spin for the rider in the airflow lane. Manages to keep it in a straight line. And we'll get there first. 12.30. 108 mile an hour across the finish line to a 14.76 and 97.5. Hunt and Ryan Franks doing battle here. Franks with the wind goes 9:01, 147 mile an hour, so very consistent to the ET that he ran before. And again, Matthew Hunt just spinning that wheel on the head of the throttle. Tried his best to get it to stick to the racing surface. Of course, trying a new combination. On track now is Michael Richards in the aerofoil lane. Chase that line on the... and went 9:01 at 147 mile an hour through the finish line to a 12:32, 94 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Next up, Greg Hordham in the airflow lane. Away from the start line first. And we'll take the win, 10-0 with a 0. 144 mile an hour to a 10.92 with a 7 in the rocket lane. .1063 with a 7 in the aerofoil lane to take the win over a 1069 with a 7. Not much in that one at all, ET-wise. Pair accepting the green, the aerofoil lane, stumbling just a little bit away from the start line, managing to stay in front though. 11:28, 143 through the top end to an 11:01 at 133 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Rocket lane takes this one. $11.49. And the airflow lane. 980. Unfortunately, the Rocket Lane racer leaving before the tree was activated there. So race control will just reset the run, and the rider in the airflow lane will go on a solo. Of course, we'll be going to Pro Tree as of 9 o'clock this afternoon, or this evening, where all 3 amber lights will flash together per side. Next pair locked in and ready to go. Rocket Lane away first. 151 light. And takes through to the finish. 11:43, 138 mile an hour in the Rocket. Nice clean launch for the rider in the airflow lane. 059 on the tree. Runs through for a 985, 147 miles an hour to a 1057, 138 in the Rocket Lane. Rocket Lane will take the win here, 10:53 with a 2. 138 mile an hour. Definitely with the performance advantage, a 1298, I think it was, in the airflow lane there. Pretty even off the start line. The bikes were locked together to half track, but the airflow lane pulled away the top half of the racetrack, and it looks like the Rocket Lane got out of the throttle. 11:12 with an 8 in the airflow lane will take the win. Three counts down. Rocket Lane away nicely. But the airflow lane with the performance will take the win across the finish line. 10:48 with a 0, 140 mile an hour to an 11:72 at 118 in the Rocket Lane. of a wobble off the start line for the Aeroflow Lane racer there. Went 093 on the tree to an 086, 089 in the Rocket Lane. And a 10.07 with a 9 will take the win. 142 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane there. Our next pair lining up on the start line. Lane away first, holding the lead, and will take the win. 13.52, 98 mile an hour to a 13.60 at 106. Aeroflow Lane taking that one out, 11.71, 124 mile an hour. Rider in the Aeroflow Lane, very close to the centre. Rocket Lane will take it 11.32, 121 mile an hour to a 13.0 in the Aeroflow Lane. Big burnout from the road trail bike down there in the Rocket Lane. Another one of our P-plate riders here tonight. Aeroflow Lane out in front and will take the win. 11.42 with a 4, 112 mile an hour to a 13.94, 91 mile an hour for the road trail. Next pair, the tree counts down. 0.4 of a second between each of the ambers on the start line. The Aeroflow Lane out in front. And it maintains the lead at 13.06, 103 mile an hour to take the win. The 133 light on the tree for the Aeroflow Lane. Out in front and will take the win. 13.07, 93 mile an hour. plenty of RPM out of the machine in the aeroflow lane. 11.43 with a 6, 126 miles per hour, and a 14.88, 87 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Of course, tonight all about running your own personal best as a competitor. Getting that better reaction time, getting that better ET, or the higher speed, or the more consistent gear change. With so many different variants of motorcycle, it all comes down to the personal choice of the rider and how fast they choose to go. Big wheels up for the rider in the aeroflow lane there. Came down a little bit uneasy with a bit of a wobble as well. Looks like the rocket lane out in front at the moment. And a 14.78 will take it, 82 mile an hour. And a 14.5 in the aeroflow lane. that solo pass for the Rocket Lane. I dare say we're getting back into our next round of our Quick 16 Harley Challenge. Of course, tonight's a bike night brought to us by Harley Davidson, Sydney Random Riders and Heavy Duty Magazine. Fantastic night being had so far. Plenty good runs. The riders out there in the staging lanes getting plenty of passes, which is what it's all about. And in the airflow lane we have Johnny Hog Island from Sunbury taking on Warren Foster from Greendale. Foster with a small capacity advantage over Johnny Island, but Island very experienced aboard a Harley Davidson. And 11:41 with a 2, 1:16 will take the win. Foster with an 11:97 at 1:08. Andrew Calderonero in the airflow lane on the Harley Davidson V-Rod. Away with the 150 line. The rider in the Rocket lane gave away a bunch on the start line. Andrew's going to move into the next round. 10-8. 7 with a 7, 128 mile an hour through the top end. To an 11.88 with a 5. The Rocket Lane very consistent on its previous pass, but unfortunately just gave away too much on the tree. Of course, the Harley Davidson Quick 16 running on eliminations for the prize. I'm sure they could then come back around and run in the other lanes, just running grudge runs effectively. One of our track walkers just spotting something on the racing surface. And the next pair we have Mitchell Ornsley and Matthew Duff. Duff with 2.15 litres of Harley Davidson beneath him. On the Sportster. The track deemed all clear. Mitchell Ornsley in the airflow lane, taking on Matthew Duff in the Rocket. Duff away with an 0.85 light. That's about 2/10 up his sleeve. This bike pretty quick. I don't think Ornsley's going to get there. And 11.64 with a 6, 1:13 through the finish line. We'll see the win for Matthew Duff. 12.08 with a 9 at 116 mile an hour for Audsley. Next up, Paul Fraser in the airflow lane, taking on John Fraser. The airflow lane, a CVO01. A little bit of a wobble there for Paul Fraser in the airflow lane. Away with a 102 light. Will the Rocket Lane get back around? I think he will. He does. Goes a 12.007 at 112 mile an hour. Gets there by 0.3 of a second. John Fraser in the Rocket Lane moving to the next round. Back into our grudge racing. Not too far away from going to Pro Tree. Of course, that happens at 9 p.m. Sydney time. Right, our next pair ready to go. Just need that second white light on for the Rocket Lane. He's in there now. Tree will count down. 150, the reaction time for the Rocket Lane. Looks like the Aeroflow Lane with a slight performance advantage gets the win at 10.45 at 142 mile an hour over 10.78. Margin of victory across the finish line, 1/10 of a second. Not much at all. The next pair. Almost straight into stage. Better reaction time for the Rocket Lane. And takes the stripe at 11.47 with a 9, 119 mile an hour to a 12.74 at 102 for the rider in the Aeroflow Lane. Plenty of RPM on board those machines. 11.42 with a 7, 132 mile an hour in the Aeroflow Lane to take the win. And a solo in the Aeroflow. We've got a 12.03 at 128 mile an hour. Went 2.27 seconds to the 60-foot mark. The Aeroflow Lane out in front, doing just under 100 mile an hour at half track, and a 12.62, 115 mile an hour in the Aeroflow Lane to a 13.57 at 103 in the Rocket. this one pretty close across the finish line, I think. 800's the margin. 11.90 with a 7, 111 mile an hour at the finish line. To an 11.73 with a 4 at 115. So the airflow lane was catching. .097 reaction time for the airflow lane. Very close to the 60-foot timers. The rocket lane quicker though. 11.73 with the 4 at 123. To a 13.71 in the airflow. Rocket lane out in front here, 12.70, 100 mile an hour. To a 13.58 with a 2. .036 on the tree for the airflow lane. 36 thousandths of a second that rider left after the green light came on. But the rocket lane with the performance, an 11.66, 105 will take the win. Of course, welcome to all of our viewers on the Sydney Dragway YouTube channel. Sydney Dragway official, and also the viewers on Facebook. So I'd like to welcome and thank all of our spectators here at the venue. We're enjoying the action from all of our two-wheeled racers on the track tonight. A bunch of O lights here. 079 on the tree for rider M15. Making his way down the airflow lane right now. And will take the win as well. Got there by 2/10. 13.64 with a 6. 92 mile an hour. So looking pretty even. The rocket lane in front at 1,000 feet and a 14.47, 88 mile an hour to take the win. .059 light on the Christmas tree for the rocket lane. Airflow lane to take the wins, 14.64. .1141 with a 9, 125 mile an hour in the rocket lane. To a 14.1 with a 7. 92 in the airflow. 11.11 with a 5, 143 mile an hour in the airflow lane. Big speed for the ET. And a 15.40 at 87 mile an hour in the rocket lane. On the start line for our airflow lane racer, an 11.60, 130 in the rocket, and a 21-second pass there for the airflow. If you're at the venue or watching on the live stream and see all the extra barricades and the advertising over the return road for leading into the burnout pad. Of course, tomorrow we are hosting the Bonanza here at Sydney Dragway with burnouts happening from 9 a.m. There's 120 plus burnout cars hitting the pad tomorrow. The event will be live streamed as well. Food trucks, a Trader Alley, a Mechanical Bull, a Show and Shine as well. So certainly one not to be missed. Thank you very much. Up on the big screen, you'll see the ad right there. As I said, kicking off from 9 a.m. here at Sydney Dragway. Check out the Dragway's YouTube channel if you can't make it to the venue. Sydney Dragway Official on YouTube. Nice launch from the rocket lane racer. Went 185 to the 60 foot. And a 10.45, 133 mile an hour to a 15.58 at 83. I think that front wheel came up on the shift into second gear for the rocket lane racer. 11.12 with a 5, 127 miles an hour, but a 10.64 at 149 mile an hour for the airflow lane racer. Big speed. Rocket lane out in front here. 13.41, 97 mile an hour to take the win. And a 14.17 at 94 in the airflow. Bike's very close to the 60 foot. The rocket lane starting to pull away though. A 12.05, 113 mile an hour to a 13.65 at 96 for the airflow lane. 11.16 at 119 for the airflow lane. Went sub 2 seconds to the 60 foot. Because we see a lot of our bikes here tonight. 2 seconds plus to the 60. As I said before, it's all about getting the bike moving, feeding the power in, trying to keep that front end on the ground. 12.86 for the one at 109. And a 14.57 at 88 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Barely even away from the start here. In reaction time anyway, I think the rocket lane out in front, and we'll get there first. 12.62 with an 123 mile an hour to a 13.41 at 100 mile an hour in the airflow lane. .12.32 with a 107 mile an hour. That bike in the airflow lane absolutely screaming on its way down the racetrack. 17.36 the ET. .11.35 with a 5 at 125 to an 11.96 at 120 mile an hour in the rocket. .10.68 with a 5 in the airflow, 131 miles an hour. .11.51 with a 127 mile an hour is beaten with a 10.46, 145 mile an hour in the rocket lane. Sub 2 seconds to the 60 for the rocket lane. On a mission, 10.88 with a 7. 129 miles an hour. Very close in the reaction times here. The Rocket Lane with a slight advantage to the 60-foot. But the Aeroflow Lane, a 13.96 at 92 will take the win by around 0.3 of a second. Around about 15 minutes time, we go to Pro Tree here at Sydney Dragway. Into our next round of the Harley-Davidson Quick 16 knockout. And Andrew Caldanero in the Aeroflow Lane on the V-Rod, taking on Johnny Hog Island. Oh, the Aeroflow Lane very loose on the hit. The tail was wagging. Island will get there first. 11.52 with a 5, 115 mile an hour. Next up we have John Fraser on the Harley FX DSE. 1800 cc's taking on a 2150 for Matt Duff in the Rocket Lane. Duff with the performance advantage looking at his previous times here tonight. He's cut an 0.54 light. I think that's going to be a good night for John Fraser. And I think something might have gone amiss there. I heard a bit of a clunk on the track mics. And 11.52 with a 3. Just under 114 mile an hour there for Matthew Duff in the Rocket Lane to take the win. Johnny Fraser, unfortunately, rolling on through. I think that sets up our final for the Quick 16. Those races will be back around very shortly. 12.23 with a 4 at 109 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane to take the win there. 0.6 of a second, the margin across the finish line. As the Aeroflow Lane completes the burnout procedure. Three counts down. The Aeroflow Lane with the advantage on the head of the throttle. Goes 2:01 to the 60. Maintains the lead all the way through. 13:09 with an 100 mile an hour through the finish line. 160 kilometres now to a 13:53 at 99.7. So pretty close, given the speeds of both those riders. And a 15:02 will take the win here, 87 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane. Big burnout there from the rider in the Aeroflow Lane. Well, that rear tyre fighting for traction on the star line, just screeching away. Very evenly matched though. The Rocket Lane out in front, 11:51 with an 8. 117 mile an hour across the finish line to a 12:29 with a 2 at 108 mile an hour. Too much in the reaction time here. Looks like the Rocket Lane with a small advantage to the 1,000-foot first. 10:25 with a 0. 1:43 to a 10:60 at 1:42 in the Aeroflow Lane. Around about 0.4 of a second. The gap there across the finish line. 77 on the tree for the aeroflow lane. Alicia Harrison in the rocket on the Suzuki 11.01 with a 118 mile an hour for the aeroflow lane to a 12.41 with a 4 at 83 for the Suzuki in the rocket lane. Wally Holster down there in the rocket lane. BC Performance Suzuki. It's away with a 1.44 light. The rider in the aeroflow lane clipping the edge of the blue paint. That's how fast they turned over towards the centre line of the racetrack. Holster straight down the centre of the lane with 9.29 with an 8, 157 miles an hour. The aeroflow lane still running an 11.18. At 143. Next up we'll see Michael Riches and Ryan Franks. Franks on the GSF Engineering Hayabusa. Usually runs this bike in Extreme Bike. Taking on Michael Riches. .051 on the tree for Michael in the airflow lane. Takes the win line to 9.09 with a 2, 147 mile an hour. Franks slightly faster. Only 0.01 I think it was across the finish line between those two. Cheryl Beddoes in the rocket lane. Running the Joe Curry Motorcycle Transport Harley Davidson Destroyer. .063 red on the tree for Beddoes. A 9.23 with a 5, 141 mile an hour charge. And for the rider in the aeroflow lane, a 10.01 with a 6, also a 141 mile an hour. Actually carrying more speed than the Destroyer. Just goes to show how crucial that first 60 feet of the racetrack is. Riders very close together. The airflow lane very, very close to the centre line. 12.69 with a 5, 105 mile an hour. To a 12.43 with a 2 at 109. .059 light for the rider in the airflow lane. And unfortunately, that looks as far as the good run's gone for that competitor. 11.14 with an 8 at 125 for the rocket lane. Rocket lane on a mission, 10.03 with a 2, 146 miles an hour. Was riding away from an 11.42 with a 1 at 132, which is certainly not a shabby time. With a 5, 146 miles an hour for the rocket lane. To an 11.90, 117 for the airflow lane. With an 8, 144 to a 10.84 with a 9 at 135 mile an hour for the rocket lane. Next up, the battle of the two strokes once again. Brett Copping in the airflow lane, taking on Shane Copping. This is and Kawasaki respectively. Shane with the better light there. Trying to get out on Brett, who has a little bit up his sleeve performance-wise. And Brett once again slowing to a 13.22 at only 78 mile an hour. Just enough to get across the finish line first. Solo run for the Rocket Lane here. And gets a 13.31 at 90 mile an hour. We're about to see the finalists now for our Harley-Davidson Quick 16 elimination bracket. And we've got Matt Duff down there in the Rocket Lane for Sydney Random Riders, and Johnny Hog Island in the Aeroflow lane. Now Johnny's bike quicker on paper, but Duff has been lightning fast on the reaction times. Oh, 1-1 on the tree for Duff. Has about 2 tenths up his sleeve, which will be about what he needs to stay in front. I don't think Island's going to catch him from there. No way. Duff will take the W. 11.46 with an 8, 114 mile an hour. Takes the win by around 3 tenths of a second. Island slowing to an 11.60. Had gone as quick as an 11.26 earlier tonight, so on paper he was the quicker bike. But Duff just got away from that start line very, very nicely. 0.11 the reaction time. He is your winner for the Harley-Davidson Quick 16 knockout here tonight. Congratulations, Matthew. .44 with a 6, 135 mile an hour in the Rocket Lane to take the win. Now moving into our Pro Tree portion of the evening. To a conclusion, we're going to run the Pro Tree, which means all 6 amber lights will flash once on that start line. And it's time to go. A 10.37 with a 9 in the Aeroflow lane there at 141 miles an hour. The Aeroflow lane out in front. And 11.19 with a 3, 137 miles an hour to an 11.83 with a 3 at 121. Ooh, 081 on the tree for rider M92 in the Rocket Lane there. A very good effort on a Pro Tree. And a 10.84, 138 miles an hour run to a 15.0 at 61 for the Aeroflow lane. With a 9, 117 mile an hour for the Aeroflow lane to a 12.86 at 102 in the Rocket. Not too much in this one off the reaction times. The Rocket Lane marginally better and gets there first. 10.84 with a 1, 139 miles an hour to an 11.56, 123. airflow lane will take that challenge. 13:47 with a 0, 1:05 across the finish line. Just north of 160 kilometres an hour. The rocket lane with the advantage in this one. And looks like the airflow lane, unfortunately, slowing at about half track. The rider doing the right thing, pulling over to the side of the racetrack. If something has broken and leaking, what it means is the cleanup is less involved, but looks like he's got the bike going again under its own power. Our next pair on their way to the finish line. The airflow lane out in front. And 11:62 with a 9. Gets there first by a 10th over an 11:58. Courtesy of a better reaction time. These two look pretty evenly matched. The airflow lane just in front of the 1,000. Stretches the legs a little bit in that last half of the racetrack to a 12:66. The rocket lane will take that one out. 11:38 with a 3 at 1:25 to a 13:59 at 1:05 in the airflow lane. Rocket lane, 11:68 with a 6. 25 mile an hour. Pair of road trail bikes rolling up to the start line. Very close in reaction times between these two. The airflow lane just out in front. And a 13:707 will take it by 0.2 of a second. The airflow lane in front at 1,000 keeps the lead by 10th and a 14:77 with a 2. 81 mile an hour to a 14:66. we'll take that. 1468 with a 1, 88 mile an hour to a 1560 at 84 in the Rocket. Speed in the Rocket lane there, 142 mile an hour with a 1086. That bike in the airflow lane sounding so sweet. Through the rev range, hit the limiter in one of the gears, so it went 11.16 with a 5, 135 mile an hour. Currently our 5th fastest bike to run in Pro Tree. Next pair making their way towards the finish line, locked together at 1,000, only 900ths of a second across the finish line, a 10.36 with a 1, 154 mile an hour to a 10.43 with a 7. 500ths across the finish line there. A 14.095 to take the win. Good side-by-side race happening there. 200s across the finish line. 10:44 with a 143 mile an hour to a 10:42 with a 0 at 142. The tail wagging in the airflow lane. Stayed with the throttle open and runs on through for a 10.80, 128 mile an hour to an 11.20, also a 128 mile an hour. Next pair into full stage, just about. Up on the limit of the bike in their rocket lane, onto the bare concrete in the middle of the racetrack. The airflow lane will take the win, 9.64 with a 152 mile an hour to a 10.45 at 141. The rider in the airflow lane there, the fastest bike down the racetrack in Pro Tree by nearly a second tonight. That could change in a few moments' time though. Ollie Hoster in the rocket lane for BC Performance. Ollie goes 165 to the 60. Down the rocket lane. Runs a 9.18 with a 6 at 157 miles an hour to a 10.25 with an 8 at 145. So Hoster jumps to the top of the pile by now leading by around half a second. Side-by-side race here too. The airflow lane will get it at 10.59 with a 0, 149 across the finish line to an 11.15 at 125. .55 with a 2 in the airflow lane to an 11.13, 139 mile an hour run in the rocket lane there. .22 with an 8, 146 miles an hour. Big speed out of the bike in the airflow lane there. .10.13 with a 6, 143 mile an hour. Gets there by around 3/10 over a 10.60 at 138. 11:49 with a 7, 131 mile an hour in the airflow lane to take the win there over a 14:25. The airflow lane out in front, 11:32 with a 7, 132 mile an hour. Takes on a 12:24 in the rocket lane. The airflow lane will take this one out at 12:74 with a 3, 103 mile an hour. Got there by around 3 seconds. So I'm not sure if there was some issues for the rider in the rocket lane there. But a 15:45 in the rocket. $11.39 with a 130 mile an hour to a 10.73 at 136. $14.90, 88 mile an hour in the airflow lane. It's beaten by a 13.51 in the rocket. And a 12.33 with an 8, 121 miles an hour in the airflow lane. Beats out a 14.47. So it's pretty close to the rocket lane in front. 11.58 with a 115 miles an hour. Beats out an 11.93 with a 6. The airflow lane came from behind there, 11.30, 127 miles an hour. 13.11 with a 2 will take the win. 102 mile an hour. And a 13.16 with a 5 at 105 in the Aeroflow lane to take the win there. The Rocket lane with a better reaction time, but the Aeroflow drove on around. The 13.98 with a 6. 85 gets the win there. .10.24 with an 8. 146 miles an hour in the Aeroflow lane to 10.55, I think it was, in the Rocket. .11.48 with a 2. 120 for the Rocket lane to a 14.18. 93 mile an hour in the Aeroflow. .11.33 with an 8, 125 miles an hour. To a 15.31 with a 3. 91 in the Aeroflow. .11.15, 133 mile an hour to a 14.44. 90 mile an hour in the Rocket lane. .11.96 with an 8, 120 mile an hour. That rider pretty consistent looking at the previous ETs. 11.09 in the rocket lane to take the win. Just under 133 miles per hour. .671, 116 mile an hour for the Harley rider in the airflow lane. .11.09 with the 9, 117 in the airflow to take the win. 12.98 with the 1, 103 in the rocket. .11.07 with a 6, 127 mile an hour in the rocket lane. That bike has gone as quick as a 1080 tonight. Since we switched to Pro Tree, that is. Both riders leaving red there. Hoster went too early. Not going to get a time, unfortunately. But an 11.71. 129 mile an hour for the rider in the airflow lane. With a 3, 142 mile an hour in the airflow lane. Looking pretty consistent based on the previous ETs recorded since going to Pro Tree. .10.02 with the 4, 147 mile an hour for the rider in the rocket lane, and a 10.98 with an 8 at 1:43 for the rider in the airflow. .42 with a 5, 126 mile an hour. Just looked like our rocket lane racer just rolled through the beams. .11.63 in the airflow lane. The rock. .11.31 at 136 mile an hour in the rocket lane to take the win over 15.51. Rider in the airflow lane, they're getting awfully crossed up in the burnout. Oh, one of those bikes on the limiter, first, second gear. I have a feeling it was the one in the airflow lane. 11.26 with a 6, 131 miles an hour to a 13.73. 13.50, a 96 mile an hour to take the win. Over a 19.5 at 80 mile an hour. Very even off the tree this time around. About 100th of a second in it. And there was 600ths in the finish line. The aeroflow lane getting there first with a 14.64. One with the 0, 151 miles an hour in the rocket lane. Not the quickest ET for that bike, but the quickest speed by near 5 miles an hour. That's a big gain in top end speed. And 11.96 with a 6 at 121 miles an hour in the aeroflow lane to a 14.47 in the rocket. And it looks like we finish off tonight with a 10.92, 134 mile an hour run. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our bike night here tonight, brought to us by Harley Davidson, Heavy Duty Magazine, and the Sydney Random Riders. Thank you very much for all your participation, for those that raced their machines, for those that came to the venue to watch, and also to all of our viewers on the Sydney Dragway streams via Facebook and YouTube. Hope you've enjoyed your evening. We've seen some pretty quick runs here today from a lot of our motorcycle riders. Don't forget that tomorrow is the Bonanza here, kicking off from 9 a.m. 120 plus burnout cars will be doing their thing on the Sydney Dragway burnout pad. And it is shaping to be an absolutely fantastic event for Sydney Dragway, and of course for all of those who enjoy their burnouts and skids. It's the grand final for the Burnout Masters, and is, as I said, shaping up to be a fantastic event. Keep your eyes on the track's website, and of course our Facebook pages and YouTube. For if you like the streams tonight, don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, that stream will be kicking off for the Burnout Bonanza tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. As I said, 120 plus cars. There's food stalls, a show and shine, mechanical bull, all sorts of things happening here at Sydney Dragway. We'd love to see you here at the venue. And until next time, I will say good night. Be safe on the roads and see you all soon. Good night.